Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Cage. I'm your host, Jim Graham, and my co-host joining me today will be Carrie Steller. This week on the program, we are going to discuss UFC Orlando, which happened last weekend from Orlando, Florida, and we're also going to preview the main card for UFC 222, coming to you live from pay-per-view this weekend, Saturday, March 3rd, from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Without further ado, let me bring on my co-host for this week of Beyond the Cage, live here on MMA World and MMA UK, and thanks everybody for joining us. And how you doing this week, Carrie?
I'm good. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing all right. It's a little drab. Is people still use that word?
I would say, yeah, that's a good word for it. It's a little dreary out.
Yeah. We got rain. It's cold. If people thought winter was over here in Michigan, they're sorely mistaken.
We might get...
Oh, did you freeze up? Just as soon as she mentioned snow, it freezes up. What are the odds of that? I want to try that again. That's weird. All right, let's bring her back on. Happens sometimes.
So sorry about that. Somebody called and it like totally glitched me out. I'm like, no, don't call right now.
Right?
Nobody call me right now.
Right? No, it was weird because you said it might snow, and that's when it froze.
And
so I thought
that might. And hi, Tom Kilkenny. It very much might snow. So, I don't know. I'm not like, I don't get all upset about it. I know people get like, oh, it should be over. It is what it is.
So we have, so that's the weather we're going on here in the eastern part of the United States. As I was telling everybody, Carrie, of course, we're going over UFC Orlando and UFC 222 today. And also, in between, I want to just touch on Glory 51 just a little bit because it features the Glory return of Badr Hari, which I think a lot of people are excited for. At least I'm excited for. I think people should be. This is a pretty big deal because Badr Hari, before he left, obviously was arguably the greatest kickboxer of all time. He, of course, had that matchup with Rico Verhoeven. We all know how that ended. It ended in a little bit of an injury with Badr breaking his arm, so that was a little anticlimactic, especially after the huge build-up and World Tour and all that jazz that they did. So him coming back, I think, is a big deal because a lot of people thought it might just be a one-off with Badr Hari facing Rico. And so the fact he's coming back and taking on a guy who he's fought before, a guy who is a very solid veteran, and a guy who's, I mean, Hetzi Gerges is a really big dude. I mean, he's one of the biggest dudes I've seen in Glory, and I think this is a great main event, and I think a great way to kind of get Badr back into kind of fighting some elite competition because I think as much as I'd love to see him against Rico again, I kind of like him having a fight in between to really set it up and really make that rematch kind of mean something.
Absolutely. Hold on now. I didn't know we were going to talk about Glory, so I like to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like to do tangents. That's my fault.
Surprised me.
That's really the only big fight.
It's all right. It's all right. I love a good Glory card anyway. I just didn't know when the next one is coming up, and I know that there's also LFA on Friday. There's so many things going on this weekend in MMA, which is great. So, like, you know, there's just everywhere you turn, there's something to watch this weekend, which I like. I don't think there's any Bellator cards this weekend, though, correct?
No, unfortunately. I think it's next weekend, Bellator 195 is going down. So no Bellator this week, but it will be coming very soon.
It happens. And you'll have to just bear with me because I don't know if I had the flu per se over the week, but I'm finally, like, better. So I did watch the fights, believe it or not, and I did the live results on them, and I was lying in my bed like watching, and I did a really good job, all things considering. I was half dead, but I got it done.
Yeah, we saw a lot of finishes for UFC Orlando, starting with that undercard where we saw Manny Bermudez win by a guillotine choke.
Yep.
And I actually thought that was a pretty close fight, really, up until the finish. I thought Morales was doing a good job against the guy who was clearly the better grappler and clearly a guy that wanted nothing to do with standing on the feet. In Bermudez, I thought he was doing really well. But the longer it would stay in those grappling exchanges, it was only a matter of time probably before Bermudez could do something like that. And that's basically what happened in this fight. And that's not to say Morales still doesn't have a bright future. It's just he went up a guy that's kind of a specialist and a guy that that's what he's going to do to you.
That was actually a really, you're absolutely right. It was very back and forth, and it was actually a really great fight. And it was a great opener. I enjoyed it. And the guillotine submission was awesome. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Morales' debut?
I actually think it was Bermudez.
No, it was Bermudez' debut. That's right. Okay.
Yes.
I was trying, because I remember one of them, it was a couple debuts that night, which was, that always makes for an interesting fight anyway, because the veteran wants to prove that, like, I'm a veteran, whatever. And the guy debuting is always going to, like, go in there hungry as shit. So that was a really enjoyable fight. I liked it.
Yeah, unfortunately for Mr. Morales, he's had a tough go of things. He's had a draw, 4 losses, and only 1 win. However, that 1 win does come over Andre Supemkamp. So his 1 win is over someone pretty good. I don't know if he'll get cut, but you got to believe that he's close. If he doesn't,
he's going to need to pull something off and do something spectacular soon.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the beast there.
They cut people for less.
Yeah, and then, boy, this guy Eric Shelton, is he only in close fights? I mean, another close fight with Eric Shelton, another fight where his opponent, I think you could say won, but didn't really beat him, didn't really kind of overly dominate him, just kind of did enough to win. And I feel bad because I like Eric Shelton. I think he has a lot of skills. He's a young, hungry guy. But for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem like he has that little extra gear or switch or X factor to kind of put him ahead of his opponent a lot of times. And I don't know what he needs to do to find that, but he's got to be sick and tired of losing these close fights, because that drains on you, I think, more than getting knocked out. Because it's really easy to go, obviously, I did this wrong. I got knocked out. It's really hard to look at this fight and go, what did I really do wrong?
Yeah. Well, you're not doing much in the eyes of, like, what everybody else would say. It stinks, and it sucks that he's not getting the better of them. And, it is what it is. And there's not much you can do about that. And it stinks for Alex, because it kind of makes the fight look like lackluster. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to say something. They're not going to say good things about it. They're going to just highlight on the lack thereof of a performance out of Shelton.
Real quickly, we got a question from Dylan Weber. I believe Bisping should fight Nick Diaz for his retirement fight. I don't think the Diaz brothers are really interested in fighting anyone right now. So as much as that matchup would be excellent, I think they're pretty good what they're doing. I think if they really wanted to fight, he would have been booking a fight as soon as his suspension was up, 2 years ago now for Nick? I mean, I don't know. I think they're content just doing seminars and training in Stockton.
I do know that, for a while, the problem was that Nick owed a heavy fine for a while, and he wasn't willing to pay it. And I know they I worked out some kind of agreement, but I know that was a big factor in it for a long time. Now it's just plain old. I think he's just having a good time. I think if the money was right and it was a good super fight, Nick would come back, but it would have to be a good money fight for him and an entertaining. It would have to.
Yeah, I mean. Like I said, I think he's gotten to a point of his career. I think he has over 40 fights, close to 50 in his career. He's now in his mid-30s. I don't think the motivation is there to go in there like he was when he was 24.
Well, Dylan said he's been hearing rumors that Nick is saying that he might come back, and there was even a comment that Dana White, I can't see the rest of the.
There was a comment that Dana made. He's been saying he might come back for years, though,
And
Carrie.
that's
I
why
don't think
I'll
that's
never really
nothing
count
new.
him out. I'll never really count him out of fighting, but like I'll believe it when I see it.
I mean, he's basically semi-retired at this point. Like,
Yeah.
he hasn't announced that he's
He just
done,
hasn't
but
said
it's
it.
like he's. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing here. I mean, he's basically semi-retired. He's like you said, he'd take a fight if the money was right, but realistically, he doesn't want to fight.
No, I feel
That's
like
fine.
I feel like Nate only wants to fight Connor, which I mean, you know, if that's what he wants to do, and I can understand it. I mean, they're offering him ridiculous fights at like welterweight and like all these other with like fight, and I know they're stripping Connor like in the next. They're gonna officially announce it really soon. They have to. I mean, why haven't they announced it yet officially is beyond me. It's kind of stupid. It's like, well, why are you playing a cat and mouse game? The guy doesn't want to come back till September, October. That's ridiculous. That's
Yeah.
that's you're holding your belt hostage and you just don't want to like what why this is what gets me. And I know we're not like this is like so off tangent, but why would you do everything that Conor McGregor did, everything that he did, fight outside of his weight class, get the 2 belts, go and, you know, box and all. Why would you get 2 different belts and 2 different weight classes and then not come back and defend either? How could you leave and go, oh, I had such a great fucking career? I'm not trying to be mean. The guy accomplished some things. Yeah, give it to him. I'll give it to him. But what the fuck else has he done? What has he done?
Well, I think it's because he was obsessed with fighting Nate Diaz. So let's.
He's done nothing else. I mean, like, honestly, like, I could never go, oh, wow, I was, like, the best at anything if I didn't end it and at least defend it once successfully.
I think that's probably one of the most ridiculous selling points of a fight ever is that Conor was obsessed with fighting Nate Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how this whole thing kind of got started and derailed, was giving into that obsession fighting Nate Diaz, because now it's kind of caused super fights and not wanting to actually fight
bothers me.
So, yeah. All right, back to UFC Orlando. Hani Yahya does what Hani Yahya does. He's, I mean, a world jiu-jitsu champion.
Yep.
Pretty much Russell Doan had no chance against that. Not surprised. Speaking of surprise, I was surprised that Sam Alvey won. Not so much that he won, but the fact he did it moving up a weight class.
Yeah. I was excited to see that. I
up
love
to 205. Yeah, he took on a guy I would say looked pretty big and strong, despite making his UFC debut in Marcin Pracino coming out of Poland.
Yeah.
But the power was able to translate. He was able to win. He said that he would stick around at 205 for another fight. A guy that's from your neck of the woods there, Carrie, and Gian Vellante. Mm-hmm. What do you think about Smiling Sam against Gian Vellante?
I think it'll be an exciting fight in general and entertaining to say the least. You have 2 really cool guys going in there and 2 talented guys. And they're both bangers. So I don't know. I don't know which way to go. But I can say that wouldn't be a hell of a fight. And I don't want to root against somebody from New York. But I really like Sam Alvey too. So I'm torn right there.
I think if they don't, there's that fight, was it June 1st in Utica? I think that's a pretty good like co-main event, Gian versus
Why
Sam.
not?
So.
Hey, Kayla.
So, then we had the fight that a lot of people may have missed, which is unfortunate because it was fight of the night, because Fox decided to show some taped, non-live, non-breaking news basketball story for the first half hour of the prelims, mm-hmm. at least here in the Metro Detroit market. Mm-hmm. I think other markets as well, which made no sense to me. I don't know how that happened. So that fight got completely, but then they showed the rest of the prelims, no problem. So that I don't know, that's an issue itself. And then I found out, Carrie, that some markets didn't even show this live. In fact, the Oakland affiliate for Fox didn't even show this.
That's weird.
So if you are a viewer of Fox in the Oakland metropolitan area in California, you couldn't watch this unless you went online or legal stream or a bar or something like that. So some people didn't even get to see this in their market, I found, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is pretty ridiculous. That's you know what, it really bothers me that like you can't see it at, you know, UFC in certain places. And what bothers me is like, you know, you get I don't know, it's just who wants to watch it on the internet? You know what I mean? Like I'd rather be able to watch it on a TV. Like I get it, you know.
Yeah, well, not everyone has the hookups to put it to their TV, or they don't want the hassle of having to do that.
And not
They
everybody
just
has
turn
the
on the
internet. I'm
TV.
sure there's certain places
You
that
have to
people
be there.
just don't have it. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So it sucks.
So yeah, it's unfortunate that that's the fight people missed. Much like myself, I record a lot of the fights because I'm always busy doing something, and so I got to miss that one. So I watched all the other 11 fights or whatever it was, and of course I missed the one that fight. That's so unfortunate. But Alan Joe Blay won. It was kind of a big deal because both guys are from the 10th Planet system. Both have trained under Eddie Bravo. So it was kind of a big deal, the two taking a match against each other. I believe Ben Saunders does a lot of training in the Florida, Georgia area. This was still kind of a big deal, but great fight by both guys, obviously winning fight of the night, but Joe Boy walks away with the victory, knockout in the second round. Angela Hill is able to kind of outpace Marina Moroz. Then Marion Renault, what a comeback by Monroe. Probably a 10-8 round in the first round by Sarah McMahon, who had just looked like she was on her way to another dominant wrestling victory, maybe pounding a knockout. But Monroe was able to come back in the second round, stuff the takedown, then land a amazing straight right that wobbled Sarah McMahon.
She looked really good.
Renault was able to pounce on that, locked up a triangle choke. Took her a few minutes, but she was able to slowly adjust and work her way and finally got that tap 340 in round 2. And not only was this just a big win for the rankings-wise and big win, probably the biggest win of Renault's career, but again, the fact that she was able to come back after getting dominated in round 1, I think makes this victory even bigger for the school teacher.
Yeah. You know what? And she looked really, really, really great in round 2 after round 1. So hats off to her. And she's a school teacher. You're right. And it was impressive that she had that performance over Sarah. So, you know, I'm really excited to see what she's going to do in the future.
Kayla, we will get to the Amazon deal in a minute. I want to talk about that as we enter our pay-per-view discussion, but definitely something that is intriguing heading into this pay-per-view weekend for UFC 222. And then lastly on the undercard, we had Renan Barão against Brian Kelleher. And a lot of people are saying, is this the end for Renan Barão? Is he done being able to compete with elite competition? He was definitely in this fight. He definitely had some moments. It wasn't completely one-sided. But Renan Barão, the biggest thing with him is he's never really learned to deal with guys moving forward, taking the center of the cage, and striking or circling with his heels up against the cage. And that's one of the most difficult things to do in mixed martial arts. Renan Barão very much likes to fight at his own pace. He likes to fight methodical. He likes to kind of set things up. And if you fight at that pace, he can beat anybody in the world, even today. But TJ Dillashaw exposed him, that if you get in his face, you make him uncomfortable, he hasn't figured out how to deal with that. And this is still, 3-4 years later after those fights with TJ, and he still hasn't seemed to figure out. You add in difficult weight cut. You add in, people are mentioning USADA, which I think is a factor as well. And you add in the fact that he's been doing this. It's the 9-year thing is a real thing. He's over 9 years now.
Yeah.
So you add that in. He has a lot kind of going against him. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a downfall from him. There's a lot of different factors, but it just doesn't seem like he can compete, quite at that same level that he was. But that happens to everybody.
Absolutely, and that's not to take away Brian Kelleher. He's a really, really talented young guy, and he fought a very smart fight. You know, he fought a really, really smart, tough fight, and you know, so I don't want to take anything away from him and his performance. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he's going to be doing. You know, he's had some really, really, really two really great wins, 2 or 3 really great wins in the UFC so far. Kelleher.
Yeah. And then didn't he call it John Lineker?
Yeah.
After the fight?
Yeah. He said 3 wins. Yeah. His first win was really great over Yuri Alcantara, but he's a talented guy, so I would let him. He's pretty much calling out whoever will take the fight because he just wants to fight.
All right, let's get to the main card. Max Griffin against Mike Perry. Obviously, Mike Perry now living and training in Orlando, originally from right here in Michigan and Flint. Took on Max Griffin. Obviously, the hometown crowd was on his side. Even though Mike Perry lost, he for sure lost this fight 29-28. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. But we did see some improvements from Mike Perry. We did see his conditioning was definitely vastly improved.
Big time.
His wrestling vastly improved. However, he still had trouble with a long, lanky guy that was able to attack him from the outside, who didn't really go into the pocket. He had a little trouble with that. He still is throwing too many home run shots. I kind of said in the preview, I'd like to see him throw some more changeups. I would have liked to seen that a little more. And also head movement. I thought because he's such a tough guy, he kind of leads with his head a little bit. Obviously, he was visibly wearing the punches from Max Griffin more than Max was wearing his punches.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah, which you would think would kind of be the other way around. But we did see some improvements, and I think Mike Perry can take this fight. This is his second loss in a row. I think he's exciting. He's a fan favorite. I don't think he gets cut yet. So
no, because he is exciting and the fans like him. I don't think he gets cut yet. If he can take
this performance and tweak it just a little bit, he can be on his way to being a guy that can be competitive within the top 10 of this division. I don't think he has to completely reinvent himself or anything like that. But this was a nice step in the right direction. And I think a lot of people, myself included, probably underestimated Max Griffin. And I think we learned Max Griffin's a pretty legit guy.
Oh, a lot of people did. A lot of people counted him out before the fight. So, and Mike Perry's got a hell of a fucking shit, man. Fucking guy thought he was going to go out. Didn't at all. That was a really entertaining fight in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Really, this whole night was a pretty entertaining night. I would say the only fight that I was kind of like, was probably the Angela Hill, Marina Moroz.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the style. She throws a lot out there, but in this fight, she wasn't able to land a lot. And if she could have landed, I think they were saying she was landing less than 30%, which is not very good. You'd like to see those numbers into the 40s. And I think had she been able to get into the 40s, that's a completely different fight from not only an entertainment factor, but also a scoring factor.
Yeah.
All right, Ilir Latifi versus Ovince St. Preux. Talk about great fights here. This was going to be what this fight was going to be about. Could Latifi get inside the ridiculous freak athlete that is Owens P with his 8 and 6'4" to just little old 5'8", the Swedish meatball, Ilir Latifi. And Latifi got inside. He got inside. He rocked him. And he was able to use those big, strong arms of his. Man, those things are huge. And it got around the neck of OSP, and there was no letting go. His hands were at the side. The ref's kind of looking, checking out. Latifi feels him go limp, and then just kind of drops him like a sack of potatoes. And that was all she wrote. 3 minutes and 48 seconds into round one. And you don't often see guys go out from guillotine chokes.
Yeah, no.
Especially from standing. So this was a very good win for Ilir Latifi over a guy who I think was starting to kind of resurge himself in OSP, who I believe had 3 wins in a row coming into this fight. So this was a huge win for Latifi.
Yeah. And a lot of people thought it was going to go the other. I honestly thought it was. I thought that OSP was going to win because you usually see him pulling out submissions. Specifically the Von Flue loves to do, but and that's his favorite. So I was expecting him to win, but not that Latifi isn't, talented, and that was a good performance. So congratulations to him.
A fight, I don't know if it'll happen next, but I'd love to see Latifi versus Shogun.
That might be a good fight.
He's still out there.
I
don't know why he's still out there, but Shogun still is. So let's throw him someone who's going to throw some bombs.
He's still out there.
All right. Next fight. Boy, I know they gave it to Joe Boy and Saunders, and I'm not trying to take anything away from those two, but I think you could have easily made a case for Tisha and Jessica to win Fight of the Night.
Yeah.
This was a excellent back and forth affair.
Yeah.
And even though Tisha lost, I came away with respecting Tisha, I think, more than I ever have in her career, because she took on someone who is just an absolute monster, number one. Number two, she didn't get finished.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like she was able to eat all the shots that Jessica threw at her.
And I was
still
saying that the whole time.
Rounds.
I was saying the same thing.
And I think even though she lost, I'm more secure in saying Tisha Torres is a legit strawweight contender, even in a loss, than I think had I won if she would have eked out another, decision where she barely wins.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest criticism I have of Tisha, is the fact she doesn't put people away where other people in this division at this level do. So that's what I'm saying. Even though she lost, I really took away a lot from Tisha Torres, her makeup, her resolve, and I think it's only going to make her stronger moving forward, knowing that there aren't other girls like Jessica Andrade. This is a one, mutant in the stratosphere. This is just somebody that you're not going to have to deal with.
Lifetime kind of situation with her.
Yeah.
Yo, dude, she's like a small cyborg. Like, she is a freak of fucking nature. She hits like a train. Her conditioning is insane. She's fought some of the best people in the world. I would love to see her fight, see her fight the winner of Rose Joanna. She's so talented. Jessica's so talented.
You know who she reminds me of? Early in his career, he did very similar things to people, and that's Glover Teixeira.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to call him the Terminator.
The Terminator.
And Jessica Andrade is the new Terminator.
She is.
They don't move fast. They just go at their own pace, right at you.
And I was going to say,
throwing hard, and they're super strong.
She literally just completely goes after the person the entire time. She's pushing forward, and that's got to be a tough pace to put up with when you're being pushed by somebody that's got that much of a gas tank and has that amazing of conditioning that can keep it up for 5 fucking rounds. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm
saying.
And
the volume that she throws, I can't.
That's what I'm saying. She's the new Terminator because she's not in a hurry to do anything.
She's going to be a champion.
It's just like Arnold Schwarzenegger was not in a hurry to.
She's going to be a champion. I'm calling it.
Yeah. I mean, look at these stats, Carrie. 151 landed strikes out of 237 thrown. Again, this was a 15-minute fight, and she was 10 of 12 in her takedowns.
Yeah.
And those were beastly slamming of the takedowns for the most part as well.
Like it's a pillow. She picks people up like they're pillows and throws them. I love it.
Yeah, and just it's incredible what she can do. And Tisha, like, the first round was probably the only round she won, and that as they were saying, and as I was saying, as the announcer was saying, and as I said in the preview, while yes, her strategy to win was staying on the outside, really being on her bike and dancing around and moving in and out, the problem isn't so much could she do that, it's could she do it for 15 minutes and basically essentially be perfect.
Yeah.
Very hard to do.
Very.
And obviously she wasn't able to do that. That was kind of the catch, because if you get anywhere close to the Terminator, she punches you or she grabs you and then slams you. It's just,
if you even get in range of the Terminator, you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
She's a freaky little chick, and she's like a little bulldog. She's like tiny, but like not. She's a tough fucking chick. I love her. I can't wait to see what she does in the future. It's going to be very interesting who comes out of the Rose Joanna rematch, because that's who they're looking at facing next. I don't know what I think is going to happen with that yet. I'm still torn. If Joanna doesn't go in, if she doesn't go in there on emotion, and if she doesn't go in there on emotion and fights really smart, and she's going to have to, because she's been, now she knows she could get knocked out, so she's going to have to fight a little bit smarter. And honestly, she's going to have to be on top, like really on point with her takedown defense, because if I was Rose, that's what I would be doing. I would be going to submit her. Be like, all right, well, I beat you this way. Now I'm going to beat you that way.
Right. All right, let's get to this main event, Josh Emmett against Jeremy Stephens. I think this was pretty much what we expected from these two gentlemen, swinging, banging. Somebody was going to find themselves unconscious on the canvas. It happened to be Josh Emmett.
Yeah.
Now, there was a little controversy.
Yeah, there was.
In this fight, and I think that's the biggest thing about this fight. Obviously, Stephens lands the left hook. That drops.
The controversy
Josh
was
Emmett.
bigger than the fight.
He goes in for the kill, lands a couple. He throws a knee to Josh Emmett, who is a ground opponent. Both his knees were on the ground.
Yes. Yeah, completely.
I believe he might have had both hands on the ground as well. Maybe one was up, but regardless, the knees are what is the big thing in this situation. He throws the knee. It looks as though it misses or possibly grazes the top of the head. It didn't really look like Emmett moved much or looked phased by the action. The referee was right there in front of it, had a good look at it. It was Dan Murgulata, which is kind of funny because, of course, he was the ref during the Mousasi-Weidman knee situation. So I thought that was kind of funny. Lets it go. Emmett kind of flips over, his head's against the cage. Stephens throws a couple more, and that's all she wrote. Now, while, yes, he did throw a knee to a downed opponent, I don't think anyone can argue that. Now, what the arguing is the severity of that strike. And I think, looking at it several times, I don't think it did much damage or any damage, number one. And number two, I don't think it changed the outcome of the fight.
No,
I think Josh
it didn't at all.
Very bad situation. It was only a matter of time. I don't think he's going to win his grievance with the state of Florida. But I wouldn't have been upset had the referee stopped it throwing the illegal knee. I wouldn't have been like, I can't believe he did that.
Yeah,
because he's following the rules of his job.
Yeah. It's just a really weird situation because it's like it is the ref's discretion to decide if he wants to, take action on that. And at the end of the day, was it going to change it? Nope. The outcome wasn't going to change. And did it affect him that much? I don't think so either. So, I think people are just more pissed that it happened and nothing was done. And I think that's why people are angry, because I don't think it made any difference that it happened, but it is what it is. And you're right. It's funny that it's Dan and that's happened. So
I feel like that's just how things work.
It is what it is. It happens. Listen, he's not Mario Yamasaki. You know what I mean? He's not like people get almost beat to death.
No. And really, the whole Weidman thing again really wasn't his fault. It was trying to milk the time, and then all of a sudden
it is what it is.
Over 5 minutes.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Matt Holt comment, what about the elbows before the knee? I don't think too much of the elbows because, again, he's going in for the kill. He's trying to find the head. His opponent's kind of moving around, trying to get out of the way from these shots. I don't think any of those elbows were intentional from Jeremy Stephens, so I'm okay with, again, letting those go. And they weren't like they were, I don't know, I can't really bend over my head. If my head was bent over, it's not like he was clearly like to the back of the head or the spine kind of area or something like that. Because we had a call, I believe, earlier that night where they stopped the fight. The guy was kneeing him in the spine. Actually, I think it might have been the Hani Yahya fight against Russell Doan. So obviously the referees are very aware of, that back with the neck and the spine. So I think if it had been something like that, Dan Murgulata would have stopped it. Or, well, we think. I can't say for sure, but I'm okay with that. I think he overall did a great job, and I don't think too many referees would have stopped the fight there with elbows for.
No, they weren't blatant he wasn't going out there trying to blast the guy off with a couple elbows and get away with it. That wasn't the case at all. When you're in, because someone's coming in like that and they're moving around a bit, you might, hit the wrong area. It happens.
And also, I think when it's especially the main event, you kind of want the fight to play out with the fighters. You really don't want it to be decided by a judgment call by the referee. So I think referees really don't want to stop something unless it's completely egregious because they want it to play out in the cage. Don't want somebody's night ruined because you were like, well, maybe. You know, it's kind of like those jump balls at the end of football games, you know, where there's pushing and shoving.
Maybe.
Yeah, no one really wants to call pass interference, even though there probably was pass interference, but nobody really wants to end the game on a call like that. So I think he was all right.
That got me. You
Thanks
got
for
me
the...
there, Jim. That was funny. That was funny. You.
All right. I kind of already said my little piece there about Glory 51. Watch this weekend on Fight Pass. You get Cedric Doumbé, Fight Pass, former welterweight champion. That dude's a beast, so watch him. And then the Glory main card, which I think is on ESPN3, streaming live at 3:30 Eastern. Or if you're in the GMT or friends in the UK, I think that's 8:30. So
right.
Check it out. It's worth your time.
I'm
all right,
really excited about this card this weekend.
Yes. UFC 252.
Yes.
Here we go. Real quickly, we'll look over the undercard.
The entire thing is... I'm loving the entire... I think that even the early prelims are great.
Yeah. I've seen Jordan Johnson fight before. I've seen Jordan Johnson fight before. He's taking on Adam Milstead. That's in the light heavyweight division.
Adam's a really cool dude, and he's super talented. So I'm really excited to see that fight.
And then a connection here to Michigan. One of our local guys training here in Michigan top team over in Dearborn, Michigan. Cody Stamen makes his third fight in the UFC. He's 16-1. He's taking on 7th ranked Brian Caraway.
Ex
in the bantamweight division. Brian Caraway, for those of you who may remember, used to famously date Misha Tate.
Did you hear what I just called him? I said, ex-Mr. Tate.
He's ex-Mr. Tate. However, Mr. ex-Mr. Tate hasn't fought since May of 2016.
I know.
Where he defeated Aljamain Sterling by split decision. So, obviously, the breakup hit him hard because he hasn't fought in almost 2 years. So, I guess he's finally moved on and accepted that Misha is now with Johnny Nunes, who's not even in the UFC, so that's probably got to be a bigger slap in the face for him. So he's taking on, one of the young up-and-coming guys here in Cody Stamen.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we'll see. Caraway's one of those guys who just can beat like the non-elite guys, but can't beat the elite guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if Cody Stamen kind of fits into that.
And he's a crybaby.
Yeah, I think if you're Cody Stamen, I would try to keep this thing standing as long as I could because Brian Caraway is a very good grappler.
Yeah, he is.
I think of his 21 victories, he has something like 15 or 16 submissions.
Yeah, he is talented.
He's a very good submission guy. Cody's a strong wrestler, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's a submission guy.
Mm-hmm.
So the edge and submissions definitely go with Brian Caraway, and we've seen him hit submissions off his back. If you remember in the fight he took on Eric Perez. Perez was piecing him up on the feet. Caraway pulled guard. What happened? He submitted Eric Perez.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he can do. So if I'm Cody Stamen, I'm very wary of getting into grappling exchanges with Brian Caraway.
Yeah.
And then, boy, Mike Pyle, still fighting.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I'm kind of like, wow. There's no
talk about, like, contrast to styles. If you look at these two on the UFC website, Mike Pyle's a very long, lanky guy at 6
I was just going to say, like, look at the body type difference.
And then just only 1 inch difference, though, in height. And then you have Zach Otto, who's, a very big, strong wrestler. His nickname's the Barbarian, and he very much fits that. So just from a physical standpoint, this matchup looks interesting.
Yeah, it looks. I'm afraid for Mike Pyle just looking at it.
Yeah, I'm also afraid for CB Dalloway because he has to take on Hector Lombard.
Yeah.
And we know CB does not take punches very well. He's not a guy known for his chin.
Yeah, and
remember, he did get knocked out by the elevator in Cleveland. So, I mean, now he has to take on Hector Lombard. Ooh, good luck. Trying to take on that guy.
Good luck is right. I don't know how if Mr. Dalloway is gonna fare so well.
Then we get this
Scary.
match run back. The next matchup, this is now moving on to the FS1 prelims, and I'm glad to see that we're getting this matchup again and getting it in short succession. That's John Dodson against Pedro Munoz. These two were actually the co-main event of the Eric Anders Leona Machida card about a month ago. Munoz missed weight by a few pounds. John Dodson said, I ain't having it. It got canceled. They moved it to this card about a month later. So again, the question is, do you think Munoz can make weight this time?
I hope so. I hope so for him. You know, 2 times in a row won't be a really good look. So we shall see.
Yeah, this is a big deal. So first step is him making the scale, and if he can do that, I think we'll once again, much like we would have been treated in early February, here in early March, I think we're going to see a fantastic fight of 2 of the best bantamweight fighters in the world.
Absolutely.
And the guy who emerges victorious, I should say, puts himself in a very good position for title contention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like John Dodson for that, but that's just me. I'm a Dodson fan.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Dodson. I think that was my pick a month ago, and I don't think that's changed.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
Then Beneil Dariush is taking on a newcomer, Alex Hernandez. Ooh, good luck. Beneil Dariush is an absolute monster.
I was going to say, I'm a big fan of Beneil, a lot, really. He's very talented, and I like watching him fight. So.
Good. He's a very legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He trains with Rafael dos Anjos there at King's MMA, and he's developed into a very good kickboxer. He trains with, speaking of glory, Giga Chikazi, who is from Georgia, who trains with that King's MMA camp. He's like their head striking aficionado. Of course, he's known for the Giga kick, which is the left back kick to the liver. Lo and behold, Beneil Dariush also fights left-handed. So look out for that. I think he might try to uncork a Giga kick. Which we've also seen Jake Ellenberger use in one of his fights when he finished Matt Brown, used the Giga kick. So it's deadly when you can land it. So look out for that. And then, I don't know, this might be the most exciting on the card as far as like seeing one particular fighter. The UFC debut of, speaking of another great jiu-jitsu fighter, there's a lot of good jiu-jitsu players here on this card, but maybe none more than the MMA Lab representative Mackenzie Dern, 5-0, taking on former Ultimate Fighter contestant, trains with Dan Henderson's team there in Temecula, California, Ashley Yoder. I think this is a very excellent matchup. Of course, this will be at 115, which is interesting because Dern has fought some of her career at 125, and I think even as high as 135. She's had some issues trying to get down to 115. Obviously, one of the reasons she was doing that before was the UFC didn't have 125.
Yeah.
But now they do. So I wonder if Mackenzie, if weight doesn't go her way early on in her tenure, will try to move up now that she has that option. So I think that's the one good thing for Dern if people focus about her weight is, well, she could just move up now.
Well, yeah, I'm a little shocked that she'd take a fight at 115 because she's had.
I am a little surprised though, especially for her first fight. I think if she went 125 and then said, "Now I'm going to try 115 in the UFC," I don't think too many people would be surprised because she kind of gets that jitters out of the way without having to make weight. But now she has to worry about jitters plus the scale.
A lot of people were saying that for a while it was because she was doing a lot of tournaments still and stuff. So they were saying that was the difference, and they think that's why she couldn't make weight. And if she's now just concentrating on MMA, hopefully, I would hope that she wouldn't take a fight at 115 if she couldn't make it there. You know what I'm saying? And she's a thick chick, you know what I mean? She's not.
Right, but not tall. I mean, if you look at Ashley Yoder's list at 67 inches, which I believe is that 5'6", 5'7",
Something
right?
like that.
It's because 72 would be 6 foot exactly. So I think that's 5'7". They list Dern at 63 inches, so that would be like 5'3", 5'4".
Yeah.
So not like an overly tall strawweight, even compared to her opponent.
Yeah, no, but she's thick, and if she gets Ashley to the floor, it's lights out.
Oh, no doubt. Her jiu-jitsu is incredible, and
Top
in fact,
notch.
like you said, she's trying to do more MMA, but if somehow they do another women's EBI tournament, I think she should be included.
Oh, definitely.
Could you imagine if they did a 125 EBI and it's her and Ilumia McFarlane?
That'd be pretty. Oh,
that's what we would want to see,
that
whether
would be
it's
awesome.
combat jiu-jitsu or otherwise.
I'd want to see that. I'm in. Yeah. My vote's in for it.
I think that should be done. All right, let's get to the main card. That's what we're going to preview here in depth here on Beyond the Cage. 5 fights for the pay-per-view again this Saturday, March 3rd, from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Speaking of women's fights, is kicking off with former women's top contender in the bantamweight division, that being Kat Zingano, as she takes on one of the young and up-and-coming fighters in this division, and Ketlin Vieira. We haven't seen Kat Zingano in a while, Carrie. It's been a while since we've seen the Alpha Cat.
Yeah.
She's obviously had a lot of stuff happen to her kind of since her title fight in 2015. Has only fought once, where she lost a kind of humbling fight to Juliana Pena. Mm-hmm. That was all the way in July of 2016. First fight in roughly 18 months for the Alpha Cat. Really what I'm interested to see here, Carrie, is her mental set, because her last fight she took on what was at the time the young and up-and-coming fighter in Juliana Pena.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't so much that she lost, but she got dominated in grappling exchanges. When we talk about jiu-jitsu, obviously Kat Zingano is a high-level black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitor.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like it against Juliana Pena. Now, Ketlin Vieira, also another very good grappling expert, but not quite the wrestler, not quite the strength and power that Juliana Pena brings to the table. She's more lanky and cerebral. She likes to kind of set things up differently. And if it stays on the ground, I think it's very hard to pick who's going to come out of those exchanges.
It could go either way, yeah.
Yeah. I think really what I want to see is how Kat Zingano does standing, because I think she is the better striker. When she was at her best, she was aggressive. She was brutal. She was in your face and did not let you breathe and was always looking to damage you. And I don't think Ketlin Vieira has faced anyone who can do that to her yet in her UFC tenure, and I would say overall her career, which is only 9 fights.
Yeah.
So if we can see that Kat Zingano, Ketlin Vieira is in for a world of trouble. But if we see more Kat Zingano that's kind of going with the flow and back and kind of maybe accepting positions, hoping she can work out, it's not going to work very good for her.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right, this next fight, boy, I don't know. We both had the same expression. Did you? I think we had, Jim, you're like, I don't know, and I was like.
Yeah, it's
Why?
Do both guys, do they have a chin left?
Why?
Is it still there?
Could it be the competition of who gets knocked out faster? Like.
Yeah, and we're referring to Stefan Struve against Andrei Arlovski in the heavyweight division for this next matchup. I don't know how Andre still has a paycheck with the organization.
I don't even know. It's because everybody.
I'm being honest, and this is a guy who's a huge Andre fan, going back to what, UFC 30?
I can't, and I think it's just his name that still carries weight, and people still like to see him in there. And I mean, apart from that, I don't get it.
I mean,
guy's got fucking black toenails. I mean, come on.
At least Struve is under 30. You know what I mean? Like, he's not done. It's just.
I'm going.
I know a lot of people were talking.
I don't really.
If Struve can beat Arlovski, he should fight Stipe because he beat Stipe. Like, let's be honest, if Stefan Struve fought Stipe Miocic right now or sometime this year, he would get destroyed. Let's not act like that wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
okay.
No,
Did he beat Stipe Miocic 5 years ago or whatever? Yes. It was a good win. He got Stipe. But you notice that Stipe has not lost since that fight? Well, I guess he had the Junior Santos loss. But I mean, like, he hasn't lost against anyone below him.
Yeah.
He hasn't lost. He hasn't got lost decisively. I mean, come on. He would railroad him. Really.
No bueno.
It's really just who can somehow last longer, because I think Struve at this point of his career lets people inside. I mean, he's never really been a guy that keeps people at length. So Arlovski should be able to get inside. It's just whether or not he could do so with landing first, or if Struve's going to hit him with the bomb. And obviously, in grappling exchanges, Struve is a way better submission guy and grappler than Arlovski. I think we saw that in his Marcin Tibura fight. Man, talk about pathetic. Really, both guys, but boy, that was hard to watch.
Both guys.
So any grappling exchanges, Struve, I think, can also win this one very easily as well.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to a fight. Speaking the aforementioned Andre Sukumkamp, he's taking on a lot of people are very high on this young man, and that's Sugar Sean O'Malley. 9-0 so far in his career. The former contract recipient from the Dana White Contender Series made his debut this past December. Was able to win as he was able to take out Tyrion Ware. Did so. I think had one bad round in that mix, but overall looked really good. But he's taking on a guy in Sukumkamp who has a lot of power. Is a guy that's very much, I would say, a methodical striker, and is probably one of the few guys that is almost as tall as Sean O'Malley in this bantamweight weight class. I know O'Malley's listed at 5'11", but Sukumkamp's 5'9", so 2 inches shorter, and only has a 2-inch difference with the reach. With the hands and the legs, so he's not that far off from Sugar Sean. The biggest thing I saw from Sean, because of his height and length, he really likes to exit combinations with his head up and his hands down. And against Sukumkamp, that could get him in trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not the best thing to do. He can get his head knocked off of that.
That's something he's going to have to work on, and I hope he either moves his head more or adds in moving his hands up, because I think that works at a lower level when you're clearly better than your opponent. But when you get into these type of guys and these type of fights, those are little things that make the difference in scoring and judging whether or not you get knocked out.
Absolutely.
So that's really how I look for this fight playing out, as can Sean O'Malley get out of the punches away enough, because he cuts angles well from those positions. And that's something Sukumkamp's going to have to watch out for. If you go back to that Tyrion Ware fight, he would kind of back up, circle, really change, angle, and throw very nice at an angle. And Tyrion Ware didn't really seem to figure that out. Like I said, he had a little bit of success in round 2, but for the most part, he had a lot of trouble with that. Will Sukumkamp had a lot of trouble? Will he have a lot of trouble with that? Or will he be able to counter it himself?
Yeah,
that's where I really look at this fight playing out is, will the straightforward style work, or will O'Malley be able to kind of do those nice angles and counters that he's capable of?
We'll have to see on Saturday night. It should be a fun fight anyway. You know, you got two talented guys, but like you said, when he leaves himself open like that, that's not probably won't fare too well for him.
All right, let's get to the
opening.
Yeah, absolutely. Co-main event of the evening. It was originally, or at least one of these gentlemen was supposed to be in the main event, and that's Frankie Edgar. He was trying to fight Max Holloway again, a fight that was originally booked for UFC 218. He got hurt. Then this fight here for 222. Now Max got hurt, and now we're left with Frankie Edgar taking on T-City Brian Ortega, the winner, fighting Max Holloway for the title at some point later this year. It's looking like Max will be able to return sometime this summer, so that's the good news. Looking at this fight, obviously you have the very strong wrestler in Frankie Edgar, obviously a guy that is, I believe now, a black belt under Ricardo Maida, which is kind of insane that he wasn't already.
Yeah.
But he is now. And of course, we all know Brian Ortega is the Gracie black belt, and also has done some training with 10th Planet as well. Obviously a guy who's very good in jiu-jitsu in his own right. I would say as far as pure jiu-jitsu goes, Brian Ortega's better, but Frankie Edgar has the better top game of the two, and I'm not sure if he's really ever been on his back, that being Frankie Edgar. So that if it goes to the ground, that's where it's kind of going to play, is the top game of Edgar versus the bottom game that rubber that Brian Ortega uses so well. I really think that's where this fight's going to play out, because I think standing, as much as people like, oh, Frankie Edgar movement and this and that, he's slowed down. It's apparent he doesn't move quite as fast. He doesn't throw quite as fast, and we all know, even though he's never been finished in a fight, we know he can't take the hits quite as well. And I think against Brian Ortega, I would try to take that out of the mix.
Yeah,
If
I agree.
I would very much want to test what this guy can do grappling-wise, because I think Frankie Edgar can still wrestle 15, 25 minutes, be on top throwing strikes. I think he can do that against anybody, no problem. Where his conditioning could possibly falter is if he gets hit with some bombs from Ortega, who I do think is the stronger in terms of power striker.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say definitely stronger.
I think that's what we're going to see, Carrie, is we're going to see, will the top game prevail with Edgar, or will Ortega be able to do something off his back to really think Edgar twice about taking him down? Because that's where it'll play out.
And that's exactly what's going to happen, because if he can, Frankie's going to think twice about that. And but I'm excited. I definitely can't wait to see that fight. I'm nervous about it because I like them both.
Yes,
I like them both. You know?
Very, very likable guys. And really, for Edgar, if he loses, probably doesn't get another chance to kind of climb back up the hill again.
No. I kind of hope he wins for that respect.
For Ortega, being 25 is only his. Well, he has a no contest, so I take technically his. His 15th professional fight, having never lost. If he loses, he'll be all right.
Yeah.
He's a young enough guy that he'll be able to unlast somebody like Frankie Edgar. And by this time, 2019, he could have already fought for a title or could already be champion by this point next year, win or lose. Just that's the nature of this division.
Absolutely.
And I was glad that they were able to keep Frankie on the card. I'm okay with it not being for an interim title main event.
Yeah, me too. I kind of like it.
It's
better
not needed.
Yeah, I kind of like.
Yeah, Max has never been hurt in his career before. It was not really needed, though. I would have got why they made it for an interim title if that was the only fight they could from a main event. But we don't have to worry about that because it's the co-main event, and we get a main event for an actual legitimate championship belt, as once again Chris Cyborg defends her featherweight championship, taking on Yana Kunznada, coming out of the Jackson Winklejohn camp down there in Albuquerque, originally though coming out of Russia. 10-3 so far in her career with a no contest, originally coming from the Invicta organization. And for people that don't know about Kunskata, I believe I've seen her fight before with Invicta. She had a couple of back and forth affairs with Tanya Evinger. That was back.
I was going to say, I thought I did see her fight Tanya Evinger.
Yeah, that's probably where she gained a lot of notoriety. That's where the no contest comes on, from the arm lock, which she apparently used illegally or something like that, and then they rematched, and she got choked out in the second round by Tanya. She then rebounded and was able to defeat Pal Louis in her next matchup, winning by unanimous decision. And she did go all 25 minutes. So she has experience going 25 minutes, and that was down a weight class at 135. So theory should prevail that she should have no problem going 25 minutes up 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Now, she's had some problems, I believe, making weight. I think she's missed 135 before, so she's a pretty big bantamweight.
So it should be good.
But she's taking on Chris Cyborg, though.
I was going to say, it could be good for her, and that's all well and good, but she's taking on the Beast. I call Chris Cyborg the Beast. There's nobody, I just can't, I think she's going to be the only person to ever retire with an unblemished UFC record. Like, as a champion.
Might possibly. So far, she's off to a very good start.
They're going to have to bring in, like, a next level, like, next generation, like, it's going to have to be something super special to be able to beat Cyborg.
Yeah, I think the fight a lot of people thought was going to be happening, maybe not this quickly, but at least at some point this year, was her against Megan Anderson. And
I'm almost over that.
We're still not getting that matchup. This is the matchup they get. I guess in lieu of Megan Anderson, this is probably the best opponent they could find her, really.
I don't even know what to say. I
don't know who else they realistically could have got.
It's crazy, and I don't know what's the holdup with Megan. What is going on?
I don't know. I heard something about visa issues, and then she was injured.
Yeah, I think that's horse
I
shit.
don't.
I think that's horse shit. I have to be honest with you. If you're fighting at that level and you have visa issues, like fucking Cyborg has dual citizenship. Like, get out of town, please.
Yeah, I don't know at this
It's
point,
horse
but
shit.
yeah.
Just say you
All
don't
right.
want to fight her and keep it moving.
All right, with that said, let's get to the picks here for UFC 222 on the main card again this Saturday, March 3rd, on pay-per-view from Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. Kat Zingano against Ketlin Vieira. I'm going to go with Vieira. I think Kat Zingano, it's been too long of a layoff, and I think somebody like this young up-and-comer may have just kind of passed her up a little bit. So I'm going to go with Ketlin Vieira to win this one.
I'm going to battle you and go with Zingano.
All right.
I hope Alpha Cat has a good night.
I hope so too, but just picking against her today.
Hope don't vote.
Stefan Struve against Andrei Arlovski. Again, somehow, because it's the heavyweight division, this is number 10 against number 12 in the division. I'm going to go with Stefan Struve. I think that X factor of the grappling game is the difference for me, so I'm going to go with the Dutchman to win.
I think the Octagon's going to win and beat them both. I think that... No, I'm going to go with you. I think that Struve's gonna etch that one out or submit Arlovski. And then that might be the last Andrei Arlovski fight that we see.
Sugar Sean O'Malley against the Asian sensation Andrei Sukumkov. Boy, I'm going to go Sugar Shane. I think his weird striking angles, I think, are going to be hard for Andrei to deal with. So I'm going to go with the American in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with him too.
Frankie Edgar against T-City. Brian Ortega in the co-main event of the evening. Number 1 contender for the 145 division on the line.
I know.
I'm going to go T-City.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to say it, but I'm saying it.
I'm saying it. It's out there. I can't take it back now. So get it out there. Say T-City.
I really, 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 really want to see Frankie Edgar fight for the title, so I'm going with Edgar. I'm not going to vote against. I'm not betting against him. I'm not voting against him. Not that I'm betting anyway, but I'm just not going against him.
All right, main event. Cyborg.
Chris Cyborg. I don't even think there was like a point of even going. Do we even need to discuss that shit?
Yeah, we're taking Chris Cyborg against Yana Kutsiatsa in the main event of 222 to successfully defend her women's featherweight championship.
I'm betting. Let's put it this way: for all future things that we do, anybody that fights and the opponent is Chris Cyborg, I'm just going with Chris Cyborg. Until they find the next level fucking Terminator of the 145-pound division, I'm going with Cyborg.
All right. She is Carrie Steller. Carrie, anything you want to shout out, plug, promote, tell people where they can follow you at social media?
Carrie Steller on Instagram, Steller79 on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook, and In the Girls Corner is pretty much on everything else. You could just, find me everywhere. I'm there.
All right. I am Jim Graham. You can follow me on Twitter at Jim Graham. I'm also on Instagram at The Jim Graham. Beyond the Cage, again, airs weekly every Thursday afternoon here on MMA World and MMA UK. And please like our Facebook pages, MMA World and MMA UK, if you haven't already done so. And, of course, MMA World on Twitter and Instagram as well. It's MMA World with 2 extra Ds at the end.
Yes.
And then, of course, we are MMA UK on Twitter and Instagram.
And YouTube.
That's right, and to the YouTube channel as well. So, for Carrie Steller, I am Jim Graham. Thank you for listening to another edition of Beyond the Cage. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.